Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. Today's episode, as you have seen on the thumbnail, is about belief and knowledge. And I should add that I don't really have a clear agenda for today's episode. I just wanted to talk about belief and knowledge because it bothers me a little bit that among people who are religious, there is confusion about the difference between belief and knowledge. There are people who will say that they believe in God, and then you ask them, do you know that God exists? And they will say yes. They often, maybe not always, but often, fail to make a distinction between belief and knowledge, because the fact of the matter is that nobody actually knows. But religious people, even when they think that they don't know, even when they agree that they don't know, will never actually say it, right? They will never say that they don't know if God exists, because that makes them look weak intellectually. So they don't say it. I tried and struggled with someone who had called us some time ago, and I really fought. I not fought. It wasn't a violent conversation, but I really struggled to make them say that sentence, that they don't know if God exists. Whenever you ask, "Do you know if God exists?" they head back to the previous position, which is, "I just believe." And you point out that belief and knowledge are not the same thing, and they don't really uh, they don't really, it doesn't seem to settle. So I wanted to talk about that. Maybe you guys have a better idea, and we'll get to that. But today's live stream is happening on May 25, which is a Wednesday. Right now it is 10 p.m is when the live stream starts usually. If you are watching live, hello. If you're in the chat, hello everyone. I'll get to the comments. If you're listening only to the audio version of this later, on an audio platform like Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Ghana.com, JioSavan, etc., then please share the episode with a friend of yours or someone who you think will value this kind of thing. Because we really don't have many live streams talking about atheism in India, and we do have many good Hindi live streams. Human with Science is one. I was on there some weeks ago, and it's quite nice. But yeah, we need to encourage more of this content, and I'll appreciate your support. Also, I will remind everyone that this channel is monetized. There is a join button if you want to support my work. And by work, I mean I write, I make videos, I do live streams and podcasts. If you want to support this work, then you can click the join button and become a member of this platform, member of this YouTube channel. And in return, you will get emoji that you can use in the chat. So that is where also you can go to vimoh.stck.me and support me with a one-time donation. Hold on. Yep. This is where you can go and you can support me with a one-time donation, vimoh.stck.me. Right. So let us get to the comments. Actually, we do have a significant comment right at the beginning. It's from a channel member who seems to be of the opinion that it's like homeopathy. I think sometimes belief feels like knowledge, and then placebo effect happens and reinforce belief and feels like further knowledge. I can understand where people come from when they confuse belief and knowledge, right? I can understand when they say that uh, they believe with such firmness that it is practically knowledge, but it isn't, right? I mean, we all reach conclusions in the same way. We all reach conclusions in much the same way. We look at information, we examine the information, we talk to each other, we compare notes. Maybe we do some experimentation, and then we come to the conclusion that something is true or not. Apart from that, I don't know. Like, I can understand. I understand totally what you have written, and I agree that this happens. I'm just wondering why it happens. Is this like an inherent flaw in our thinking as human beings? Right. So a lot of comments. Battler is here. Arun is here. Hi everyone. Amit Kumar is here. Sir, please talk to Science Journey and Amit Tiwari. Science Journey and Amit Tiwari. I will try to get them on. Thank you, Amit Kumar. Are you Amit? Are you Amit Tiwari pretended to be Amit Kumar. No, I'm kidding. Taranga says, hello, long time. Just came to say hi. Hi, Taranga. You're always welcome. We have an audio caller here. Hold on. Oh, they're gone. They waited for some time and they were gone. I There is a link in the chat, by the way, which is for audio or video calls. If you want, you can click on the link and you can come and we can talk face to face. Or if you don't want to show your face, you can just talk in audio. That's also okay. But let's see. Vikas has a comment, says, why are there lots of good teachings in religious books and other with other dangerous useless things? See, the thing is this. Nobody is saying that religious books are completely useless. Maybe they have some stuff that makes some people happy. But that goes for everything. You pick up any book, it has some good things and some bad things. The problem is that with religious books, if you point out the bad things, somebody will try to kill you. If I point out that a novel written by J.K. Rowling is bad or problematic or has some toxic ideas in it, people will disagree with me, maybe even get angry with me, but I will not face threats to my life. My position is that religious books are books, just like everything else. They're not special books, they're not extraordinary books, they're probably very old books. And that's about it. Religious books have some good things and some bad things. Our problem is that we think that they only contain good things. You will be very hard pressed to get religious people to accept that their religious book has failed in some respect. Maybe it is badly written. Maybe it contains factually wrong information. Maybe it promotes bad behavior. No, मेरा धर्म perfect है in every way possible. There can be nothing wrong with it, and if you think there's something wrong with it, there is actually something wrong with you, and you should die for it. That is the problem. Right, we have someone back. I don't know if it's the same person. Let's have them on screen. Ajay Kedar. Hello, Ajay Kedar.
Hi, Vimoh. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I am able to hear you. Go on. Are you
So
able to
I
hear me?
was going to. Yes, Vimoh. I am able to
Okay.
hear.
Okay.
So I was going to call you last week. So
Mm-hmm.
I said like there was experience I had, which led me to one conflict, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
your audience and you can help me with it.
Sure.
So recently, in some few days back, I attended one of the rituals, housewarming rituals done by some
Uh-huh.
pandit.
Hmm.
So, because this was first house my brother has taken, and he was happy, my sister-in-law was happy.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I was not sure because I don't believe in rituals. I'm an atheist.
Hmm.
So I didn't want to step on something on their happiness
Hmm.
and say something stupid into the rituals. And I was
Hmm.
expecting some kind of magic voodoo will be said by that pandit.
Hmm.
But so to give you background, my brother's apartment was not ready, so it was having some construction, but we wanted to do puja for some reason first
Okay.
only.
Hmm.
So okay, fine, let's do that puja. And what happened, no, while doing all this puja, he started giving explanation about this puja,
Hmm.
and it become worse. It was not just magical voodoo. What he
Hmm.
said was, so he started saying there are certain negative energy and all these things. Rather than that, again he started saying that because the flat is not ready, that means laborers will come in, they will eat non-veg, they will do fighting and all this. And I was thinking, what he's talking about. I thought
Wait, he said
means
liberals?
no, laborers, the
Laborers.
people
Okay,
who
okay,
work.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
So they will come inside, they will eat non-veg food, or they will
Uh,
do some what we call fighting and all this. So this will create negative energy. I was thinking, is this classes, castes, what is going on? And I was stunned for a moment because I was not expecting that.
hmm.
And here my conflict comes. Should I have said or responded to him, because this was worse than I was thinking? Because really, when I started my journey as an atheist,
Hmm.
I was like, okay, let's not these people get away with anything, but speak against it. But at
Hmm.
that time, I was not able to, because I was not prepared.
Hmm.
Because I was thinking, okay, let's let it go. and I was having conflict. Should I let it go or should I respond it to him? And I think many of other people may also have this conflict, right?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, it's casteist. It's not classist, it's
Correct.
casteist. The classism emerges from this casteism. So the
Correct.
caste element is that this was a Brahmin, presumably, who was saying that
Yes.
eating non-veg food is impure in some way, and that only laborers will be guilty of it because he's so pure. Now I'm not sure if
Correct.
that person was actually vegetarian. Was he? Or do you
Yes.
not
Yes.
know?
He was.
He
He was
was?
vegetarian.
Okay, yeah. Because
Yes.
I have seen a lot of upper caste people who call themselves sattvic food eaters, but they'll be like, हफ्ते में इस दिन नहीं खा सकते, इस दिन नहीं खा सकते, बाकी 2 दिन खा सकते हैं. And they
Yeah.
compromise somehow. There are a lot of people like
Yes.
that. So
Yes.
it's not really as if they're vegetarian either. So
Correct.
as for your question about whether you should have said something, you said that you took part in the ritual because you didn't want to create trouble and it was a happy occasion for your family, which is all understandable. I think that if that person was actually humiliating someone who was there, you should definitely have spoken up. But if he was not speaking to someone directly, you don't need to maybe you felt that you did not need to make a scene in front of your family, and that's also understandable. My point is that opposing such things being spoken in public by people, especially people as casteist as this guy, does not have to be. You can do it without being aggressive, is what I'm saying, right?
Hmm.
If he says laborers will come in and eat, you can simply say that's okay. You have opposed him, you have made clear your position, and you have devalued his opinion. You don't
Hmm.
have to point at him and say, how can you say that? How dare you say that? Vagera, vagera. You
Hmm.
simply, oftentimes, say, at the end of the day, your family is paying him to do something, right?
Correct.
He's being paid for his services. He will not fight with you. He's there for his money. You can say, that's
Correct.
okay. You're here to read some mantras and do some fire and smoke stuff so that my family feels happy. Do your stuff and leave. You don't need to
Correct.
tell us that laborers are bad people because they eat meat. You can simply, very calmly say, I disagree.
Hmm.
And that is opposition. Opposition does not always, I don't know what kind of a dynamic you have with your family. Maybe they would have been angry with you, so I cannot speak to that. I'm just saying ki whenever you feel like you should say something, it is probably because you should say something. But saying something does
Hmm.
not always mean that you have to be aggressive about it. You can put your point across calmly.
Hmm. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And the problem was we are so much. I don't know how to put it. We are so much conditioned. No, we none of my family members seems to have problem with it. Even though we are not like some kind of super rich or upper caste people,
Mm-hmm.
and no one even blinks an eye when some person says this kind of stuff, and it's really disheartening sometimes.
Yeah. And by the way, housewarmings are not something that you need a priest for. You can just invite all
Yeah,
the people you love. You can
yeah.
make some food. Most of the housewarmings I have attended from friends was just this. नया घर है, घर को अच्छे से सजाया, दोस्तों को बुलाया, खाना पकाया, सबको खिलाया, मजा किया. That is what these
But
guys ride on.
correct. But my family is super religious and they believe in all this stuff. So I can't really do about anything. Uh,
You can talk.
but
You can
yeah,
like I don't know what kind of dynamic you have with your family, but maybe you can talk to them very calmly. Like the
actually,
thing
I've
is that
already.
when your family looks at you, they should not think, अरे यार ये फिर आ गया गड़बड़ करने. They should think, okay, कुछ कहेगा. So you can create that kind of an atmosphere in your family, which will be helpful to other people also, because you might think you are the only one with these opinions. Maybe there are other people, and they're also silent because of the same reasons.
Mm. Actually, I'm open about my atheism to my family, and
Hmm.
I'm not sure if my family understand that individual choice is a thing, or they just want me to do all the rituals. I will
Hmm.
stand behind, like I will not join hands and all this thing. But
Hmm.
sometimes my mom tries to force that onto me, but I
Hmm.
calmly refuse it. No, I won't do it
Yeah.
because I have already told you that I don't believe in such stuff. But I
Hmm.
don't think so. She understands that individual choice is a thing, and she wants that let's do it whatever for my sake or something. and
You know
I
what?
am calmly
I
opposite.
have realized one good way of talking to your moms about individual choice is to ask them what they wanted to do with their lives.
Okay.
Because usually they did like it's not like people enjoy living in one house every day and cooking food for a whole lot of people, right?
Hmm.
So maybe you can ask her, did you ever want to do something else? If you can start that conversation and you can start to get her to think about, you know, uh, an individual herself, about herself, then maybe she'll be more open to your ideas of individual liberty.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a suggestion.
And
Maybe it won't work,
yeah,
but
yeah,
just a
that
suggestion.
makes sense. Yes, that makes sense. But one more thing is, this is the last thing.
Okay.
So, whatever Flying Beast was saying about that science behind, none of it came into that particular scenario. So, just to say, nothing came out. No science.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
they know
But
that they are already paid, so they are not going to bring science.
yeah, that's true. Matlab, like they will there I think there are examples of people who have like सपोज शादी से पहले दो लोगों का कुंडली मिल नहीं रहा होता है, तुम जाके पुजारी को थोड़े एक्स्ट्रा पैसे पैसे दे दो, वो कुंडली मिला देगा.
Yes,
They don't care
I
that
have seen
much.
that. Yeah,
It's a job.
they will
It's a
do.
job.
Okay, thanks, Vimoh.
Yeah.
Thanks for the time. It's what a good advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you for calling. Bye bye.
Bye.
So that was Ajay. Now I have Battler in chat. Battler, wait exactly 1 minute. Let me look at a few comments. Um, okay, already read that. Lalit says, when I was in school, we were taught religions are different, but God is one. Why we are not taught about atheism? Again, that is the whole point. I'm a huge fan of there being a religious studies class in school as long as it is taught objectively. But of course, that is not going to happen. And in religious studies class, there should also be mention of the fact that religion is not essential and that there are people who are atheists. I have talked about this before, so I will not go into it in great detail. But that is always an option available. नवजोत says ट्यूसडे एंड सैटरडे नो मीट. भगवान गुस्सा. हाँ, भगवान इतने मूर्ख हैं, उनको पता नहीं चलता कि तुम मंडे और फ्राइडे को खा रहे हो. अच्छा, ट्यूसडे सैटरडे नहीं करा, तब ठीक है वो. मतलब दिस इज नॉट इवन मी सेइंग इट. रिलीजियस पीपल सीम टू बिलीव दैट their god is that stupid. Uh, Vikas says in Amarnath Yatra, priests take 2,000 to 3,000 to 5,000 rupees to do worship of Shivling. Without paying, you won't even get a chance to get tilak on the head, such as the capitalist mind of Brahmins. Yeah, it is capitalism at the end of the day. It's just that because of our peculiar socio-cultural conditions, it feeds off caste. Right, there are a few comments, but not many, so I'll wait a bit and I'll look at the I'll take Battler on the stream. Hi Battler.
Hi, Vimoh. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you nicely.
Great,
So
great.
actually, I want to talk about something that you touched on a lot about
Okay,
how like religion is essentially a story that people tell ourselves to form identity, and I mean, yeah, you're right. It's not just religion, even nationalism, even national
exactly.
pride. A lot of things we tell ourselves are just stories that we need to make sense of our world.
Yeah,
So now, as hopefully because of the efforts of you guys, atheism does grow, and religions hold sort of withers away in large parts of the world.
yeah,
I'm just wondering, will the same, I mean, how do you, like, let's be honest, like, if you ever sort of come to a point where we get 100 or maybe large parts of the population that are rationalist, how would a rationalist person sort of like create their own story, create their own identity? Because like, because see, because even a lot of the nationalistic stuff that we see, like for example, see, like communists also atheists, but they have a completely different view of the world.
yeah,
Our very lovable Hindu atheists also come because they cannot separate their identity from their cultural identity, and that's why they sort of try to justify a lot of the dogmas in it. So
yeah,
how, now let's, so now maybe this is because as a rationalist you have to fight against dogma, and so you cannot create your own story. Your whole identity is based on destroying other people's stories and showing how there's nothing in the world. So how would a society and a country run on purely this basis? Because as of now, we don't have a purely rationalist country. We have atheistic countries, but we don't have rationalist countries where there's no national identity at all. Everyone needs to
I
make up something or the other. Hmm.
I don't know if a rationalist country is. I don't know what a rationalist country might look like. Are you talking
Hmm.
about everyone being scientific minded? Because I don't think that is ever going to happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm asking about that. If you let's get
Hmm.
50, 80%, how would these guys, like create their own identity?
So I
Like,
think
what do
it
you think
comes
that may
down
look
to
like?
I think it comes
Hmm.
down to understanding certain basic things about life, which is that food is important, medicine is important, education is important, the
Hmm.
future is important, and we should directly focus on these things, right? I
Hmm.
think that is the foundation on which maybe someday a rationalist society can happen. But we
Okay.
do need to get people to focus on these things first. As far as the stories is
Oh,
concerned, you rightly pointed out कि अक्सर हम लोगों को misunderstand इसलिए किया जाता है क्योंकि we are destroying other people's stories, but we are
yeah.
not actually destroying stories. If you look at it in a certain way, what we are doing is that we are reminding people that they are stories,
Yeah. Correct.
because they are the ones who have destroyed the story by thinking that it is real. The value of the story is in acknowledgement of the fact that it is a story. In fact, I'm not even
Okay.
saying ki, throw away all religious stories. I'm simply saying accept that they are stories. Because as long as we don't do that, we will keep thinking that they are real or history or science for some reason. And we will
Hmm.
keep doing disservice to what they're actually intended to do. And what they are
Yeah.
actually is that they are ways for us to talk to each other about what we feel. That's what literature is.
Hmm.
A writer writes what or she or they feel, and other people read it and understand what they think. That's what
Hmm.
stories are. We have always had
Hmm.
stories. And right now, democracy, nationalism, as you pointed out, the economy, capitalism, communism, these are all stories. These are all stories. But the difference between
Hmm.
these stories and religious stories is that nobody thinks that communism came from heaven, or that
Okay.
democracy के मतलब democracy, if you're not democratic you will burn in hell. Nobody thinks that. We
Hmm.
understand that these are systems created by us.
Yeah.
If we can do that to religions, at least
Hmm.
50 to at least 40 to 50% of the problem will go away. If we
Okay.
all can manage to come to the same conclusion that religions are just made by us, they are man made constructs, देन बहुत
Hmm.
सारा प्रॉब्लम खत्म हो जाएगा. बट जाता इसलिए नहीं क्योंकि हमको लगता है कि हमसे ऊपर कुछ है जिसने ये सब बनाया है और हमको दिया है, एंड दे दैट बियॉन्ड अस समवन इज सो इम्पोर्टेंट दैट देयर विल कैन नॉट बी क्वेश्चनड, लेट अलोन अबैंडन्ड. सो प्रॉब्लम
Okay.
उधर ही है मुझे लगता है.
Yeah. I disagree with one thing. I don't think that communism or democracy or even capitalism are treated as just stories. The people who push these values do genuinely believe that there is an empirical truth to them that is not there in other things. So that's the main idea. Because I mean, it is easy for us to look at the outside and say, "अरे ये तो बस कहानियां है जो आप खुद को बोल रहे हो." But
No,
the
at the
reason why
end of
so
the
many
day,
endos,
don't you
yeah,
at
at
least
the
think
end
that they're man made, right?
they are man-made, but they are
हाँ.
man-made, but they have some truth attached to them. Even
हाँ,
this
so
point is see, that's the problem. How do you like sort of convince, like you take that truth away, right? There's
mhm.
nothing left to them at all. No
No,
one
I
would
don't
sort
think
of
I
be
don't
saying
think
that.
that kind of a
Yeah.
like see democracy के साथ maybe some person is dogmatic about democracy, and maybe some
Hmm.
other person is dogmatic about the religion. The person who's
Hmm.
dogmatic about democracy will still agree that democracy is a man-made system. And if they agree that it is a
Okay.
man-made system, maybe they have some illusions about a man-made system being objectively perfect. And they're
Hmm.
stupid because of it. But
Hmm.
when someone thinks that about a man-made system, it is easy to disprove them. Oh, you think that man-made system is perfect? Look at this one here. This works
Okay.
better, and that one has flaws. They will at least talk about it, right? Religion का
Yeah.
क्या होता है कि the conversation ends. There is no talking about it. There is no questioning
Yeah.
it. Forget
Yeah.
finding faults and improving on it. एक बार किसी ने
Yeah.
आके
That's
बोल दिया वो
correct.
हमेशा के लिए सच हो गया. सनातन
Yeah.
सत्य.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
yeah. That's the limitation of religions. At least it stops up to a point. After a while, you cannot go it without breaking the whole thing altogether.
Yeah.
Okay. And just one thing about the topic that you have, belief versus
Mm-hmm.
knowledge.
Hmm.
How much of it actually, see, you brought up that example of someone who just doesn't want to acknowledge that, like there's no, I mean, there's the same thing I'm also trying to say, that a lot of reason why people believe in religions is because they do think that there's some truth attached to them. Whether it's objective or not is a different thing, but and like, and that's why maybe a lot of people, I mean, at least in India and maybe even a lot of other countries where cultural identity and religious identity are mixed together, cannot
Hmm.
extricate themselves from that. They have to sort of insist that, oh, this, oh, Jesus resurrected from the
Yeah,
dead,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
or Krishna was a real historical figure, and that
yeah,
piece of wood we found at Dwarka proves that, or whatever, all the stuff that they say about Muhammad as well. I
yeah.
think that's the reason why a lot of people just cannot get over this itself. What,
But
believe,
then
why they
like
cannot get true
you
knowledge.
pointed
Yeah.
out, objective truth, right? I'm
What?
presuming people, you pointed out that people think this is objective truth.
Yeah, they
But
do.
then there is an entire category of people who say that there is something called subjective truth, which is basically
Hmm.
opinion. There, there is no
Yeah.
subjective truth. So what happens when people try to break truth down into categories like objective and subjective? What they are
Hmm.
creating is a framework that will help them
Hmm.
confuse matters even more,
Okay.
right? Because subjective truth at the end of the day is opinion.
Hmm.
So we need to focus on the fact that there are certain ways in which we can know whether something is true or not. And this is not even
Hmm.
esoteric knowledge, it's things we do every day. If someone knocked on our
Yeah.
door and said ki, in this box I have a five-headed rabbit, you will probably not believe them because you have not seen
Yeah.
five-headed rabbits, and you will ask them to open the box and show you and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So this is the scientific
Yeah.
method. You look at things and you come
Hmm.
to conclusions. Simple. But when we try to make knowledge about things like, authority, some authority figure in the deep distant past gave us this knowledge, then we kind of start running into the problem of confusion between belief and knowledge. But
Hmm.
I kind of slightly digressed from what you were saying, but thank you for your point.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Anyways, thanks for the conversation.
Thanks, Butler. Thank
Yeah.
you. I have Cherish and Arun waiting. Guys, wait exactly 1 minute. Let me look through some comments. Hmm. I think Aditya says, we are born into a household that in 99% of the cases is religious, and we are brought up with religious values. Takes a while to realize that we can actually defy this culture. Yeah. And to a certain extent, one of the factors that prevent us from defying this culture is the fact that we are children and that we don't have a lot of power. And also, one of the ways in which human children grow up is by emulating the behavior of those who are older than them. इसीलिए बच्चे इरेजर के अंदर पेंसिल घुसा के अपनी शेव करने की कोशिश करते रहते हैं because they want to become daddy as soon as possible. But yeah, religion has latched onto evolutionary instincts and has managed to survive that way. Um, Aditya says, for that, we need to step out of the family environment and live on our own, getting exposed to other cultures and actually dealing with those on our own, unless the family is open to experimenting on religion and encourages real inquisition. Yes. I think I saw a comment by Sumana. Sumana says, tried watching Kashmir Files, could not watch it for more than 10 minutes, filled with hate and 100% biased. That is what has been said about it. JP says, I hired an Urdu teacher and he constantly tries to make me believe in foolish stories. I hope the stories are 1000 on like Arabian Nights or something. Um, Yashmin says, in Assam, mutton 700 rupees per kg, chicken 400 rupees per kg, pork 450 rupees per kg, beef 300 rupees per kg. It's kind of a lot. Assam is expensive, as pointed out by Navjot. Uh, Eman is here. She says she was watching the Philosophy Tube ka video on Jordan Peterson. So polite, no? Such a nice, well thought out video, appreciating some of his work and pointing out his philosophical limits, which is not much, by the way. I think Jordan Peterson is quite shallow. He just talks in a hand wavy manner that makes people think, "Kya bol raha hai ye sab?" Vikas says, I listened to a 10-minute video of an Islamic preacher about Qayamat in future. Most words he used were war, fatah, kafir, convert to Islam, and at last, Ghazwa-e-Hind. Wonderful. Uh, right. So I'll take on Cherish. Hi, Cherish. Your audio is a bit like I can't hear you clearly. Nope, nope. I think you're having connection issues. Yeah, that was my voice. So I'm going to have to remove Cherish because their audio is not working. Cherish, maybe you can try by after shifting to. If you have access to another connection, please use that. I move to Arun Dantuluri. Hi, Arun.
Hello.
What's up?
Nothing. Anyway, since we're on the topic of belief, I guess a lot of religious people they tend to form like we hear about arguments like the ontological argument and
Hmm.
the Kalam cosmological argument, but
Hmm.
these aren't what they use to frame their beliefs. It's
Yeah.
always personal experience, and personal experience only justifies belief, but for some reason they seem to think that it justifies knowledge.
Yeah. In fact, these arguments are usually designed to do only one thing, and that is create confusion. Because what actually happens is that a person gets their religion because of the circumstances of their birth. They keep holding on to it. At some point, they get educated and they think that, oh, wow, my religion makes no sense at all. But fortunately for them, there is an entire bookshelf full of literature that tries to prove that their religion is scientific, which is mostly cherry picking and selective quoting and bending over backwards to fit this idea into that context or something. And then they have weapons, intellectual weapons as adults to prove what they have always wanted to prove. They're like, oh, thank God, now I don't have to leave my religion because my religion is not as stupid as I thought it was. This happens to Hindus, this happens to Muslims, this happens to Christians, everyone. Some of them break out of it by saying, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, because I think there is a point to all this. But uh, what I have believed so far, this ritualism, etc., this is all corruption. But I have latched on somehow miraculously to the true core, the true meaning of all this. And then, Kalam cosmological argument happens, ontological argument happens. These arguments were not created like, a scientific theory is created by looking at the evidence. And a religious argument for the existence of God is created by people who have already decided that God exists, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
they created the theories to justify that. It wasn't as if the theory was created first. They used the theory to find God. The theories were created after the belief. If the belief came after the theory, it makes sense, but that is not the case.
I guess stuff like nuclear bombs and ancient jet planes and Pianok's books serve the same purpose for Sangis,
Oh yeah, yeah. Pianok, the guy who came up with the Tejo Mahala idea
which is for some reason making
back in
headlines again.
circulation. Yeah.
Oh my God. I think the problem is that Pranav is focusing mostly on science, so we need someone who focuses more on. We need someone who like religion uses like science is only one base. Pseudoscience is only one basis through which religious people make their claims. There's also ideas like pseudo philosophy and pseudo history,
Yeah.
and I guess we need more people who fight religious claims along those lines.
Yeah. Pseudo philosophy is like Instagram Reels is full of it.
Yeah, it's so they attribute. So I don't get what they mean when they say beyond logic.
Hmm.
Logic is not something that can have some anything beyond or beneath it.
Yeah.
It's a verb. How can it's like saying something is beyond running or something is beyond eating. Like it
Yeah.
makes no sense.
No, what they mean is the laws of logic. There are three laws of logic, right? If you
Hmm.
search for them, you'll find them like A is A and not A, stuff like that. There, when they talk about beyond logic, they're usually talking about the laws of logic.
Hmm.
In fact,
Yeah.
there was this comment I think by someone who was asking about a recent controversy, which I want to talk about it a little bit because it was hilarious to me. Where is it? It was about this. Yeah, Aditya SK had asked, "Hey Vimoh, are you following the Sandeep Maheshwari nonsense? The whole episode shows the wisdom in Vedanta scholars." I saw the video, and then I was led to Prakhar's reaction on a video that uh, who was it? Shwetab Gangwar had made about that video. Shwetab's video is not available. Prakhar's reaction also I did not watch in full, but I did see Prakhar's response to how Sandeep Maheshwari behaved. And today there was another video by Vedant Rusty, uh, which was,
Hmm.
again about the same issue. The video where Sandeep Maheshwari talks about philosophy is
I've seen
complete
it.
nonsense. Complete nonsense. He has no idea what he's talking about. He's
He
shutting down.
strawmans Descartes so much.
He not just that. I would perhaps be really interested in finding out what the f he thinks Vedic philosophy is, because he seems to be of the opinion that we did not think back then. Like this philosophy is not about thinking. If it's not about thinking, it's not philosophy. Simple.
Exactly.
because
It's like
because
saying,
if you're saying this philosophy is not about thinking, you're essentially saying some guy said something, just close your eyes and believe it. And these same people will make these same arguments against Abrahamic religions, which
I
have the
know,
same
right?
problems, by the way. But they are so desperate to prove that they are different from Abrahamic religions that they will say complete and utter shit like this. Stuff like, 90% of Western philosophy is nonsense, and you should burn those books, and that our philosophies were not about thinking. Thought is the problem. Okay, explain to me where in the Vedas and the Upanishads you found something that said thinking is the problem, and then show me how you use that in your regular life, how you do things without thinking.
Well, let's put aside the Vedas and Upanishads for a second. Let's assume that thinking is limited, as they say. Um, Explain to me that how you would reach the same, how you would come up with the same questions that Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle came up with without thinking, and
Yeah,
then I will accept your proposition.
yeah. Philosophy is such a wide and, you know spread out discipline. There is so much disagreement among philosophers, even in the West itself, that someone who says that 99% of Western philosophy is nonsense has probably read about 1% of it. And that too in the form of WhatsApp forwards.
I think Maheshwari has not even engaged with any translation of the original material. He's probably read something, someone saying something about someone else, saying
Yeah,
something about Descartes, and then
yeah.
using that as an argument against this random dude who just
I have my doubts. I have my doubts whether Maheshwari has engaged with Vedas also. Because that is what his conversation sounded like.
yeah, he's
Like, I have much more respect for someone who has read no books but wants to learn more than someone who has read one book and thinks that he has found all his truth in there.
also like a lot of people who claim that a lot of things originated in Hinduism or Hinduism inspired some things. They don't seem to be well educated in stuff outside the religion. Like you hear people say that Hindu philosophy of Maya is what inspired the Matrix, but actually, was it Plato or Socrates? One of them had the same example about how a man spending his entire life in a cave and only saw the world through shadows of whatever was being reflected onto the
Yeah, yeah.
inside, and he'd walk on when he'd walk onto the outside, his entire perspective of the world would change, because now he's looking at it in 3 dimensions as opposed to two. I
Hmm.
mean, isn't that really the same thing?
Matrix was a confluence of a lot of philosophical material. Hindu philosophy was part of it. Western philosophy was part of it. Chinese philosophy was also part of it. There are entire books devoted to studying the philosophy of the film Matrix. But far be it from people such as this gentleman to learn all of that, because if you took the crux of his argument, which was, he does not use the words, but it was still, our culture best, their culture worst, which is very, which is a very childishly unnuanced point of view to present about anything. And he should
Him
not have.
saying
Like, I have
him
problem, I have some problems with the people who have criticized him also, but on this I don't blame them. They were absolutely right to criticize him for it. The video was obnoxious.
he says that we shouldn't Western philosophers are so obsessed with thinking, but thinking is only a part of experience. I'm like, would you say that Usain Bolt is too focused on running, and running is only a part of experience? Is that what you're saying, Sandeep? I don't get it.
And by the way, that's also an insult to people in India, right? People of more contemporary India or ancient India. How can you say that we don't believe in thinking? Whatever scientific advancements we made, whatever philosophical literature we have created, does he think we, like, how does he think we did all
Meditation.
that?
We got them from
We
meditation.
we closed
Devi
our eyes
did.
and we got all the information, right?
Yeah, yeah. Ramanujam, he didn't do anything. His Devi came to him in dream. She gave him all that. From that they derived black hole, everything.
Yes. And now we have ATMs, thanks to him.
Yeah. Wait, do they say that, or is that actually true?
That's actually true. One of the things that I'm not a math expert, but one of the things that Ramanujam is said to have invented is the backbone behind the logic that runs ATM machines today.
Hmm. Was he actually a theist though?
Seems to be. I think
Hmm.
he was an intuitive genius whose brain was working faster than his conscious mind could comprehend. And
Yeah, yeah.
because he was not really into assessing that and he was too busy doing math, he probably ascribed it to some deity. There
Hmm.
are a lot of people like this. Newton would appear to be one of them.
Yeah. The guy made all his accomplishments in his 20s and devoted the majority of his life to find God.
Who,
With
Newton, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. He was
The
trying to calculate the date of Christ's second coming by going through the Bible and finding numerical patterns there.
Yeah,
Yeah. What to do? Fortunately, that is not what we remember him for.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
But Einstein believed in Spinoza's God as well, which I
No, no, no.
disagree.
Einstein. I have a book here where there are passages by Einstein. This book is called "The Portable Atheist." Right? There is an essay by Einstein here where Einstein says, "Please, मुझे अकेला छोड़ दो. I am not an atheist. I think there is plenty of mystery in the universe, but I also don't subscribe to any religious views. So please, atheists, stop using me to justify your views, and theists, stop using me to justify your views." It's in there. He has written it in
I
letters sent to his
remember
friends.
someone quoting an interview where he said the God I believe in is Spinoza's God. I don't have exact memory,
There, are,
but
yeah, that quote is there, but it probably does not mean what a lot of people think it means.
I disagree with Dawkins' view that Spinoza's God is just a metaphor for the universe. Because, like, if you read Spinoza, he actually talks about how a lot of things in nature are just modes through which everything has an essence
Hmm.
which he attributes to some higher divinity. I'm not like the channel Let's Talk Religion has done a good video about it if you want to watch. But yeah,
Okay.
I just
If you
disagree
if you
with.
want, you can send me a link to it.
Yeah, I'll do that later.
Great. So Arun, I'll have to move on to Cherish because he's been waiting for some time.
Okay, cool.
Great. Thank you for calling, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Let's see if Cherish's connection has improved. Hey, Cherish.
Hey, I'm assuming that I'm audible here.
Yeah, and you have a nice voice.
Hey, thanks, Vimoh. Firstly, let me take this time to actually feel very happy and communicate to you saying that it's nice that I'm able to talk to people around, I'm able to listen to people who are able to think like me. I really thought it was not a world wherein I have many people like you, but I'm glad that I found. And obviously
It's
the rabbit hole takes you to a very
yeah,
nice strange set of people whom you somehow interact with and feel nice. A
it's
couple of
nice to
things I
speak
was
with you
wanting to.
also.
Hey, thanks, Vimo. So a couple of things I wanted to check with you.
Hmm.
Parents, of course, Tamil, Telugu. Um, is there any quality podcasts? Is there any quality Tamil atheists channel which I can recommend to them? Obviously, they are bowled over with whatever the typical statement of Naipaul: embrace the abstract and let go of the concrete.
Hmm.
So they're absolutely bowled over with whatever is happening around, and rationality is not something which is even a concept to be
Okay.
introduced.
I wouldn't
So
be able to recommend
somebody like a
Tamil
only
podcast. I would not be able to recommend because I don't speak the language and I don't know what is available.
okay, okay, all right. So I was just hoping, I mean, if there is anything you can come across, and in the fraternity or in the ecosystem what we are in, I'm sure there will be quality podcasts which have been recommended, because
There are
these things are
there are
important,
English and
right?
Hindi stuff. Like I only listen to English stuff and Hindi stuff, so that is all I can recommend. Because I am told that there is a good amount of Keralite content, uh,
Mm.
but Malayalam content. Sorry, not Keralite content. Malayalam content, but I don't know if there is much in Tamil because again I don't speak the language.
Okay, okay. I was looking for it online, but I thought it'll be better if I can have it from somebody who's in the stream. So that is one. I also
Yes,
wanted to check
the
with you.
problem with India tends to be that because there are so many language bubbles, someone in my state will not know what is happening in the next state. Only 2 days ago, I found out that there are gaming channels in Odia and Bengali, and they're fun,
Mhm.
but the algorithm would not recommend those to me. I found it completely accidentally. The algorithm would not recommend those to me because I only watch English and Hindi stuff. So it has decided that those are not languages on my priority list. So it tends to happen.
Yes, yes. I was recently exposed to something called discontinuity systematics. I'm hoping you would have some kind of a idea of what that is.
No, I
Okay,
don't
so
actually.
okay, great. So let me
I
just
hate
revel
that
in
I'm
this
so
moment.
unhelpful to you today.
Let me just take this
Tell me
moment
about it.
to enjoy
Yeah.
this. Yeah. So discontinuous systematics is a complete field of study wherein it goes into creating evidences for the Bible.
Okay. Is this an apologetics area?
Yeah, it is an apologetics area, and
Okay.
it is an entire study. I mean, they have universities, they have enough and more
Oh yeah,
staff
they've got
working
plenty of
on.
money.
Yeah, so I was just going into this entire thing of discontinuous systematics. I was just thinking, also, would Islam or would any other uh, religion have something which is similar to it? Because it's very, very big. I mean, there are thousands and lakhs and millions of people, in fact, working on discontinuous systematics itself as a concept.
Hmm.
So is there anything like that in Islam or in Hinduism as well?
I don't know if discontinuity systematics. I don't know what discontinuity systematics means. So I wouldn't be able to tell you if Hinduism and Islam have something exactly like it. But yeah, every religion has some kind of division in it. Some people in it who are dedicated to the task of proving the literal truth of their scripture. But I am definitely interested in finding out more about discontinuity systematics.
Yeah,
It's a mouthful, isn't it? Can you say that
yeah,
5 times
right.
very quickly? Discontinuity systematics, discontinuity systematics, discontinuity systematics. Oh yeah, turns out I can.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Well, thanks, Vimoh. It was good talking to you, man.
Thank you, Cherish. Please call again. If for nothing else, it's just a pleasure to hear your voice. Do you have a podcast, by the way?
No, 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 not at all.
You should. You
I would
should.
love.
Your voice. Somebody has pointed out in the chat that your voice is podcast quality. Vikas Singh has pointed out Cherish's voice is podcast quality.
Hey, it's wonderful to hear. Thanks, Vikash, and have a good day, Vimoh.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. So that takes care of all the people who are in the audio queue. There is no one in the audio queue. So if anyone wants to join, you can. Historian asks, do you think Muslim appeasement by previous government helped to fuel Hindutva ideology? No, I don't think so, because there was no Muslim appeasement. This idea itself was a creation of the right wing. Do you think the reason uh, white supremacism has risen again in America is because their government was being too nice to people of color? Because there will be white supremacists who will tell you that we were minding our own business, but all our jobs started to go to these people in the name of what is it? Uh, what action is it called? Positive discrimination or something it is called. Yeah. So in every country, the majority thinks it is the victim of the little things that are being done for the minority. So yeah, I don't think there was Muslim appeasement. That's a Sanghi quote. Muslim appeasement, the phrase, belongs in the same folder as phrases like pseudo secularism, invented by L.K. Advani. Uh, Navjot says, Vimoh, your thoughts on Abhijit Chawda? I have no thoughts on him. I have been told that he creates a certain kind of content. I have half seen an interview of him with beer biceps, but I don't know I don't know much about his content. Maybe I'll watch and maybe one day I will have an opinion about him. Vikas says here in India we become atheist from Hinduism. So should I criticize? Vikas, ये तुमने दूसरे वाले वीडियो के वो मतलब मेरे दूसरे चैनल पे पूछा है. I will answer this in my Q&A video. Vikas says Astha Mukti Arpit Dwivedi sir made awesome video on recent nonsense of Sandeep. Yes, go to Astha Mukti, the channel. It's a Hindi channel. It's a rationalist channel. Watch their recent video about Sandeep Maheshwari. He explains. Astha Mukti, by the way, the gentleman who runs it, Arpit, used to be a TV astrologer. He used to literally be on some dharmic channel reading people's, stars and predicting the week. He stopped because he started feeling bad that he was fooling people. And now he's a rationalist. He has read the Vedas. He has read the things that these people claim to have read, but they have not actually read. He has read those in real. And he has made a debunk of Sandeep Maheshwari's video. Please go watch it. Battler says Sandeep Maheshwari is a motivational speaker. Since when is a deep knowledge of any philosophy a prerequisite for this kind of a job? True. It's appreciated if someone is motivating you. It is appreciated if they know what they're talking about as far as philosophy is concerned, but it's not necessary, and people should stop expecting it from such people. Kushal says, hi Vimoh, I recently came across a few lectures by this fellow J. Sai Deepak. Have you heard of him? I have heard of him. I've seen a few video clips. He was talking about Indic philosophy and Indic wing. What does this mean? What is Indic? Indic is what Brahmins use to describe Brahmanism when they don't want to say Brahmanism. As simple as that. Because what I have seen of J. Sai Deepak and his content, he talks about decoloniality, and I have written an essay some time ago. Wait, I'll show you. It's on my blog. By the way, my blog now has comments thanks to Scroll Stack people. Let me open that thing and show you. Where is it? Where is it? I wrote something about how there was this dishonest narrative. Here it is. A dishonest decolonization narrative. Let me just show you on screen. Share screen. Right. So you can see this. This is what I had written. It was a problem with right-wing intellectuals. The problem with right-wing intellectuals waxing eloquent about colonialism and the need to cleanse modern India of its impact is that they appear to be under the impression that if you remove Western influence, what you will be left with is some kind of raw, pristine native purity. And to them, this raw native compound is Brahmanism. They won't take the next step and acknowledge that before this Western influence they so hate, Brahmanical social practices had been colonizing large parts of the subcontinent for ages. To them, that's not colonial influence that needs to be removed from the Indian mind. India's cultural right wing is not a civilizational resistance towards colonialism. It is just another colonizing power that is fighting to once again occupy the minds of the people of this part of the world, like it had done before cultural influences from the West came along and mucked things up for it. Don't get me wrong, decolonizing the Indian mind is a worthy goal. But getting rid of one occupier and replacing it with another equally oppressive system is not wisdom. Seek diversity and acceptance. Don't fall for smooth talking NRI Hindus when they claim to want to take India back to its roots. The roots they speak of are not the roots of many of us. Our roots are tribal, diverse, and democratic, not saffron, discriminatory, and beholden to a singular cultural identity. So that is my view of that point of view. Hmm. Kaushal actually pointed this out. It means that they want to pass off right wing ideas in a neutral way. Yeah. Bisurup, who's a member, by the way, thank you for being a member, Bisurup. Bisurup says Plato's theory of soul is one of the most developed philosophy that idealists had ever come up with. मुझे idealism के साथ बहुत problem है यार. I met a guy on Quora some time ago who was of the opinion that uh, everything exists literally out there as an idea. There is there is a person called Rupert Sheldrake who talks about this also. He's a scientist apparently, and he presents ideas that are not provable, but he is very convinced that they are true. Maybe someday we will find evidence for it, but we have not, and therefore there is no reason to believe that idealism is anything other than the philosophical ideas by a man at a time in the past when he could not have done anything better. There are still people who say that qualities exist independent of objects. Like, for example, this is a pencil, it is yellow. They are of the opinion that yellow exists independent of the pencil, like physically somewhere. I think. I'm not completely clear on that part. I'm not sure where they think that this kind of idealism can be proven using methods of demonstration that we can all use. Agastya says anything to do with prime numbers is used in credit cards, debit cards. Navjot says, what do you think of the claim that Jesus came to India for enlightenment? If he did, he wasted his time because मैं तो यहाँ पे पैदा हुआ, मैं अभी तक enlightened नहीं हुआ हूँ. उसको कैसे मिलता? Agastya says, did he walk on Arabian Sea to reach here or something? मैंने तो रणवीर का पॉडकास्ट पर सुना था. अच्छा. Vikas says some liberals of India say all religions teach us good morality, but riots between religions people only happen due to difference of looks, which is useless. Uh, no, religions do teach a lot of violence. However, it is also true that religious violence is often a function of power. Like some days ago, somebody posted a meme on Instagram where they were making fun of religious superstition. One example was religious superstitions being taken part in by people who are in power, who are a majority in a country. The other was that same group, a persecuted minority in another country, and they were also worshipping the same God. It is not the same thing. I think we should target irrationality, but we should target irrationality when it comes from powerful people. The person who is only believing in a supernatural friend because he has nowhere else to go can do without our memes, is my point. Battler says, Navjot, the claims of Jesus coming to India depend on very unreliable gospel. Jesus was an apocalyptic preacher who believed the world will end in his lifetime. Acha. Right. So I have a couple of more comments from members, which I will read first, as promised. Milind Sonone says, even Ashish Vidyarthi is nowadays motivational speech, though he talks about God, but not praising of Vedas, etc. I haven't heard his podcast, but I do love his voice. Maybe I should check it out. Besurup says idealism is philosophical opponent of materialism. Yes, but not directly. Materialism Materialism is the idea, loosely speaking, that the world is primarily material, which means that it is made of matter. Idealism is kind of comparable to spiritualism because it believes in spirit or non physical things. And I don't even know what that is supposed to mean. What is a non physical thing? Can someone give me an example of it? Because we don't know of anything that is non physical. We know of things that we once upon a time used to think that it's non physical, like air. But now we can detect it, we can measure it. Light, we can detect it, we can measure it. Everything we know of is matter in some way, matter or energy, or detectable at least. So it's material. Idealism, spiritualism are based on the fundamental premise that there is something beyond the physical, and we don't know what that is. So if someone can give me an example of it, maybe I'll be better able to talk about it. Navjot says Quora should cease to exist. My brain hurts reading Quora and its advice on dating culture. Just don't go there. I have an account on Quora. I was one of the first few users of Quora from India. And it was a beautiful place back in the day. Nice conversations, great answers written by really smart people. Now it's full of IIT shit. Like people who went to IIT and they thought that the fact that they are the IIT makes them expert in all topics everywhere. Koshal says, also, I would like to hear your take on increase in school shootings in the US. In light of the recent Texas shooting, I'm curious why is this such a rampant issue, especially in the US? There is very little I can add to this topic. There is very little I can say about this that has not already been said about concerned Americans themselves. So maybe you can listen to them. It's a terrible thing. And as someone who's not from America, I cannot understand why you would send your children into situations where they could die in the course of getting an education. It's bizarre to me. Vikas says, my respect to science, scientists, and people like you increased to infinity when I watched 10 minutes videos of Islamic preacher about Qayamat. What? Don't respect anyone to infinity. We can all be wrong. Battler says, Navjot, there may have been an apocalyptic preacher in Galilee, but much of Jesus' story is mythologized. You can check out Myth Vision podcast for great content on Christianity from a critical point of view. Kaushal, affirmative action. Yes, affirmative action is what I was talking about, not positive discrimination, although affirmative action is a way of positive discrimination. Biswarup says, idealists say consciousness is beyond matter. Exactly. If it is beyond matter, where is it? Is there any way to detect it? If there isn't, how do you know it exists? That's the question. Battler says, hey Vimoh, please can you reach out to Satyanveshi? He's a rationalist from Telugu state. Fantastic guy. Is his content in English or Hindi? Because otherwise, like, I would love to make acquaintance, but I don't know how we can create content together. By the way, I'll remind everyone before I proceed that my main channel, youtube.com/Vimoh, is getting daily videos about atheism now. Some of it is clips from this channel. Some of it is original content that you cannot find anywhere else. So please go subscribe if you have not. The channel is growing at a fast rate now because I've been putting up a lot of content in the recent weeks. So if you have not subscribed, please do so. This channel is a long form content podcast live stream thingy. That content is a short video thingy. So if you want, you maybe will enjoy it. Vikas says, I still remember your video in which you told something is not true if it is written on books, but true if it relates to reality in real world. Thank you so much. Holy books destroy. Holy books कोई destroy नहीं कर सकता, पर हाँ हम उनकी value घटा सकते हैं. Ishita says 100% true about IITians and Quora. Deleted my Quora account, miss my old days. I want to delete my Quora account, but I can't because there is too much content on there. Like hundreds of answers. Kaushal says, never asked you before, but were you right wing when you wrote Ravanayan? I was on my way. I was not yet, but I was on my way. I was probably in a place where Sandeep Maheshwari is right now. Do you know Venom on Quora? No, I don't know Venom on Quora. Quora has a rule where you can't use fake names. If anyone on Quora is using a fake name, by the way, you can report them and their account will be taken down. They actually take action, unlike Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Milind Sonone has sent a super chat. Thank you, Milind. People trolled actor Deepika, Sita Maya of Ramayana, for wearing school dress during her school reunion. Once a Sita Mata on screen, always a Sita Mata. Yeah. तो ये तो पैरासोशल रिलेशनशिप का भी एग्जाम्पल हो गया ना. हमने तुमको टीवी पर देखा है, अब तुमको वही सब करना होगा जो हमने कहा है. मतलब एक व्यक्ति एक सेलिब्रिटी के साथ अपने मन ही मन एक रिलेशनशिप बना चुका है, जिसके अनुसार उस सेलिब्रिटी को उसका कहना मानना पड़ेगा. सेलिब्रिटी डज नॉट इवन नो दैट यू एग्जिस्ट. I suppose parasocial relationships are not really a thing that exists in the social media age only. It has always existed, and this is clearly an example of it. Thank you for the super chat, Milan. Thank you very much. Agastya said they got rid of that rule now. Vimoh. What? I used to have so much fun with it. Yeah. Quora changed the rules. Fake names are allowed now. Nazu says, aren't there some theories that Jesus did not exist and Muhammad too? Yeah. There are some theories that says that these people did not exist. There are some people who say that they did exist. My point is that it doesn't matter either way. If they did exist, they were people. If they didn't exist, they were not people. And either way, it does nothing to change the fact that a lot of people today do believe in their divine origins. And that is the problem. Sanat says, Soch YouTube channel in a recent video explained about 2002 Gujarat riots, where cities in which trade was prominent, communities were peaceful, and less casualties were seen. Your take on this? I agree that trade does get in the way of, communal disharmony, which is why one of the things that the Hindu right wing is doing right now is calling for financial boycott of Muslim businesses. I don't know to what extent they will be successful. I don't think they will be successful. And trade does get in the way of Gujarat riots, does get in the way of any riot, any organized communal violence. But you have to realize that communal riots do not spontaneously erupt. They are organized by people consciously looking to kill people. That is the main reason. You can have defenses against it by increasing trade relations, etc., etc., etc. But unless people who are consciously trying to create communal violence are thrown out of power, these things will not work. Because if you are smart enough to realize that business gets in the way of communal violence, somebody else is also smart enough to realize that, and they will not let it happen. Right? Kushal says, I often hear people say how Hinduism is the most liberal religion of all. For example, in Islam and Christianity, the purpose of women is to only reproduce, whereas in Hinduism, you have female goddesses. Every religion likes to say this. There are Muslims who will say, we had, great scholars who were women, and the Prophet used to respect them. Christianity will also do the same. Christianity will talk, like the main reason Mother Mary became primary religious figure in South America is because they already had a mother goddess tradition, and Christianity kind of latched onto it. Every religion tries to prove that its religion corresponds to modern values, values like feminism, values like science, values like equality, etc. Back in the day, they didn't give a flying duck. I wanted to say the F word. I tried to replace it with the D word. What I ended up saying was close to another D word, which had the I in it. And the end result is that I said deck, DECK. But back in the day, religions didn't give a flying dick about anything. So these days, the reason they do all this is because they have to be acceptable in civilized company. Like no religious person can come out in civilized company and say, उन लोगों को मार देना चाहिए, उन लोगों को मार देना चाहिए. मतलब हमारे देश में ऐसे लोग हैं, हर देश में ऐसे लोग हैं, but most people don't want to be seen as uncivilized. So they try to create some kind of alternate view of their religion which is compatible with modern values, modern social values. VL Hari Naidu has sent a comment 3 times. All the epic stories like Ramayana and Mahabharata are lies written by Brahmins. Well, they're stories and they're good works of literature also. But yes, a lot of stuff in them is casteist because these are stories where the primary characters are Kshatriyas and Brahmins. And that kind of colors people's opinions about who's more valuable and who's less valuable. Milan says, like Quora, I enjoyed Facebook for sharing jokes and fun material with friends and family, but since Facebook started feeding hate, I haven't logged in. I left Facebook quite some time ago, not because of this, but because Facebook was such a time hog. I still have a Facebook account on which I post videos about, you know, uh, like the videos I make on YouTube, but share it in a Facebook group. It's a completely private group, and I don't use Facebook apart from that. But back in the day, I left Facebook because it was taking so much time. Like, I think 60% of my day was spent checking Facebook notifications. It was an addictive app. So around the time that I started my Patreon page, I stopped doing Facebook because I figured I won't be able to do anything else if Facebook is in my life. VL Harinadu, your comment has already been seen. Please don't spam. Uh, Kaushal has left a comment, and Kaushal is also here in the audio chat. Let me take them on. Hi, Kaushal.
Uh, Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go on.
Okay, I am on mobile data, so my network might be bad.
No, it's
I
good.
just
I can hear
joined
you.
in because of that. Okay, Kushal had put up a comment about, Hinduism is the most liberal and all, and
It
he
was
was the
it was
same
not
person
it
who had
was not
asked
you.
about JSI. No, no, not me. I am Kaushal. He's Kushal.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, your skill. He's
Yeah, and
no. Your auspicious. His
he's
skill.
killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and he was the same person who talked about JSI Deepak and all. So I just wanted to point this out, like, JSI Deepak and all the right wing intellectuals of his Indic wing, they
Hmm.
usually point out how Hinduism is different from Abrahamic religions, like under the garb of decoloniality and all, because
Yeah.
Hinduism doesn't have a religious book. Hinduism doesn't have like a uniform thing, like it's all local variations of deities and all that. But when it comes to this argument of Hinduism is the most liberal religion, they will point out to Hindu texts which had women goddesses and women sages, and they will use texts from Islam and Christianity about how women are supposed to be second class to
Hmm.
men.
That's true. Like I think a lot depends on the context in which they're speaking. In some conversations, they will talk only about the good stuff. If you question them, they will try to evade. A lot of it happens. Like Rajiv Malhotra is one right wing scholar, right? He's written books that played a huge part in me going over to the right wing when I was a right winger. He talks about something called difference anxiety, which is that
I
people of
I can't
some
hear
religious
you
people.
because I have bad internet, I guess.
Oh yeah, okay. Should I remove you and just talk because your connection might improve if
Yeah,
I take you off the
yeah,
call? Cool. Thank you for
yeah.
joining, by the way. Bye. So his work had to do. Rajiv Malhotra's book mentions something called difference anxiety, which is about how certain religious people feel like everyone has to be like them. Ever since Hindutva violence rose in India in recent times, it has risen multiple times in the past. I have not heard anything from these Indic scholars about how that is a bad thing. None of these people seem to think that the problems that they point out in Abrahamic religions apply to Hinduism. You point it out and they will go straight back to पहले किसने किया था? अबे क्या फर्क पड़ता है? तुम्हारे देश के लोगों की जान अभी खतरे में है. तुम्हारा सारा philosophy कहाँ गया अभी? I take philosophy seriously, but I also take seriously who is saying it. Because if it is coming from a hypocrite, it has no value. Right. VL Haribabu, please stop spamming. Please stop spamming. I've already looked at your comment and responded to it. Agastya says, did Rajiv see the irony in it? I don't know. I don't think he can. It's very easy to judge other people, but Sudipto says some UPSC teacher guy on YouTube said trade is why India was generally secular before colonialism. How accurate is that? Uh, I don't know who said this and in what context. Secular before colonialism. I think it does apply to the Kalinga region, which is the state of Odisha presently, Odisha and Bengal, because they did have a thriving trade relationship with other East Asian nations. And there is also significant evidence to point at the fact that this region was not really a monarchy. There was a council which decided stuff and other things like that. Historian says Indian liberal criticizes Hindu scriptures like Manusmriti, and it's great. And thanks to Ambedkar who burnt it. But do you think they should also criticize Islamic books that spread hatred, like just like Manu? Sure, I don't have any problem with it. Criticize anything you want. But as I said, keep power structures in mind. Criticizing a book that is being held close to their heart by a person who belongs to a religious minority and is being persecuted is one thing. Criticizing a book that is held close to their heart by a member of a powerful community who is doing the persecuting is a different matter. Criticize all their effort on powerful quarters. Yeah, this is what you came to this podcast to listen to. Vikas says, what was the turning point when your skeptical mind started working when you were right winger? My skeptical mind was mostly listening to American atheists talk about the flaws in Abrahamic religions. It wasn't until I started applying that logic to my own religion that I became an atheist. And I have said this before. Daniel says secularism was not originally a concept written in our constitution. Yes, it was. It was incorporated later on by Indira Gandhi during emergency. No, it wasn't. Secularism has always been a defining quality of the Indian constitution. The word secularism was added to the preamble by Indira Gandhi through an amendment. At no point has the Indian constitution ever said that India will not be that India will not be secular, that India will prefer religious ideas over religious equality. The Indian constitution has always been secular. It was designed that way. The word secularism was put in the preamble by Indira Gandhi through an amendment. प्लीज गेट दिस इनटू योर हेड. जो लोग तुमको इसका उल्टा बता रहे हैं वो उल्लू के पट्टे हैं, और ये उन्हीं के एंसेस्टर्स थे जो अंबेडकर से नफरत करते थे बिकॉज ही मेड इंडिया अ सेक्युलर कंट्री. ये वही लोग हैं जो इंडिया को हिंदू राष्ट्र बनाना चाहते थे तब, और अब ये बोल रहे हैं कि हम लोग तो कभी सेक्युलर थे ही नहीं. थे. मच एज सम पीपल माइट डिसलाइक इट, हमेशा से थे. VL Hari Naidu says the Brahmanas were beggars at the time of Lord Buddha. You came on the live stream last time and you spoke about this, but now it is too late. I wanted to have a conversation about this. VL Hari Naidu, come back next episode. Maybe we will talk about this face to face. So Deepta says the UPSC guy was talking about the context of like when Umayyad and Abbasids were coming, early medieval times. Okay, I wouldn't know. Vikas says our species were scientists and technologies from the beginning, like fire technology, wooden stone tool technology. Agree? Yeah. Yes. We were storytellers, but we were also inventors. And some inventions were easy to come by, I suppose. Like, I don't know who was the first guy who discovered that meat can be cooked. Maybe an animal fell into the fire and he took a taste of the meat and he's like, hey, that's actually easier to chew. Why have we not been doing this all this while? And he spread the information, and then cooking became a thing. So Navjo, do you find Hassan Abi attractive? What? Attractive? I don't know what you mean by that. Kaushal says, Biswarup, no need for a debate. Just debunk his ideas whenever you can. Debating will give him your audience. Kaushal says this to Biswarup. What did Biswarup say? Somebody needs to challenge this J. Sai Deepak into a debate. Kushal says, sorry, I keep confusing you guys. Views on Yasin Malik judgment. I haven't actually kept up with the news today. So let me look through it, and the next live stream we can talk about it. Also, it's 1 hour 20 minutes already. So everyone who came today, thank you for joining. I will remind everyone that if you like my work, you can support it at vimoh.stck.me through a one-time contribution. This is not a pledge like Patreon. If you do want to go to Patreon and do it, you can do it at patreon.com/Vimoh, Vimoh. And you can listen to this show as audio only at vimoh.in, which is the podcast's website. And if you want book recommendations, as people keep asking, आज अजीब है, आज किसी ने बोला नहीं, but my book recommendations are at amazon.in/shop/Vimoh. With that, I will take a look at, okay, yeah. There are a few other comments, but nothing of consequence. So I will put an end to today's episode by thanking everyone and telling you that if you are listening to this on audio platforms like Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, etc., please share the episode with a friend of yours who you think might also like it. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe. If you are not a member, please click the join button and become a regular member. It helps out. I'm an independent creator. I make all my money through my work. Your contribution will help me buy books, buy software, and pay my electricity bill, which allows me to come online and talk to you. Again, thank you for joining today, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.